Utah, give me 2.
Hey, everybody, what's up? Love the podcast. 202 Z's in there. We're live at the Prospect Power Hour, the final chapter of our next Big Three Prospect Series. Ben Chase, Robbie Baseball, I'm MJ Govier. Follow Big Ben on Twitter.
Utah,
at Big Gentle Ben.
give me 2.
Robbie Baseball 1. Palazzo Podcast 202 Z's. I'm an MJ Govier. We're going to do the Cardinals, the Rangers, and the Nats today. They're on the agenda. And we haven't done a prospect show in at least 2 weeks, so it's good to be back on the air. Before we get rolling here, though, Robbie, I think you'd like to pay tribute to a man that really deserves it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks. So for anyone who doesn't know, I am from the town of Wawa, Ontario in Canada. And I had a local legend, an idol icon that I grew up following, worshiping in Chris Simon, who was an NHLer. And just this past week, earlier in the week, he committed suicide. And I wanted to briefly just mention on the podcast that, this is a guy that I grew up thinking had the world by the horns. He was drafted 25th overall in 91, 2, 3, something like that. And he, won a Stanley Cup in 1996, was on top of the world, played in the NHL, I think, till 2013, something like that. A couple years in KHL. Seemed like he made a lot of money, all these things. Life wasn't so great for him after all. And, as I mentioned, he had taken his own life. So a lot of my friends had become great friends with Chris. He was excellent in the community of Wawa, and a lot of people love and supported him and are going to be missing him. I don't know them near to the extent, I know them. I don't know Chris near to the extent that they did. But he was somebody that I always loved and appreciated. And when I was living in Calgary, he happened to be there playing hockey, and it was excellent. And just, people struggle in ways we don't know. And I know, Mike's talked about it before. Other guys have talked about it too. So if anyone out there is in a position that they're not comfortable with their lives, do yourself a favor, do your family a favor, do your friends a favor, and reach out and ask for help. Talk to somebody, because this is hitting a lot of people really close to me hard. And, I wish there was a way that this could have been avoided. And we know when this happens with hockey players, they talk about how it was rough and tumble with their life and this and that. And then 2 weeks later, they're talking about the joys of this tough guy playing the sport and things like that. We forget the human element behind it. Chris Simon was in over 100 fights in the NHL, let alone junior and beyond. And CTE is the thing the family says could have caused it. He had a medical condition that the doctors believe CTE was part of it. All that stuff, aside, just like people that are struggling, if that's you, do yourself a favor, reach out. It's not hard. People want to help, and just on that note, to me, Chris Simon was a legend. I love the fact that I grew up in the town. I was 6-7 doors down from him growing up. He'd moved out by the time I moved to town when I was in grade 4, but, knew his father. And anytime his dad had anything to say, he was kind of like the Walter Gretzky of Wawa. You listened to the man, you respected him. You guys probably have that person from your town too. And it's really rough. I don't want to say I'm breaking down crying. I'm thinking a lot about him and his family and friends. And that's it. That's my piece.
Excellent. Chris Simon. Yeah, I remember him because when I was in the NHL fandom that I was when the Red Wings were the kings of the world. Yeah.
Oh, they were playing the Avs. Yeah.
Yeah. And Chris Simon, was Chris Simon on the Caps? Am I crazy, or I might have
made
was. That up?
He played with Yager. The year he scored 29 goals, I think, was Yager was at his side, and he had the extremely long hair.
Yes,
and he just
that's
beat
how
the
I
piss
remember
out of
him.
everybody. Yeah.
CT's no joke, and fighting has really gone out of the game, right? I mean, Robbie, you still know that now?
It hasn't. There's a rookie with the Rangers named Matt Rempe who's been getting a lot of hype about going in and fighting. His very first shift at the outdoor game in January maybe it was last month. He got in a fight, and everybody was like, "Oh, this is so great." And then, unfortunately, the death of Simon is a brutal reminder of exactly what it is that, we're hyping up a guy and a young man who, for fighting. And there's been many cases with NHLers where this has happened. And, my son is 7 years old, and one of his favorite things he loves to do when we just play hockey in the garage is he loves to drop the gloves. And it's, it's something that you want to, understand and want to respect the game. And sometimes when things happen, I grew up playing junior hockey, college hockey, and that happened, right? Somebody hit somebody, there was a fight. That's how, and that was the end of it. But there's repercussions when your job on the team is to go and do that on a regular basis. And Chris Simon was a highly skilled junior player who scored over 50 goals, I think 2 years, if I'm not mistaken. So he could play. He could play the game at a high level. But when he wanted to be in the NHL, he chose that path. And a lot of guys still do that now. They want to make the next level, and they choose to drop the gloves a lot. And I'm not saying it needs to be out of the game, but it just maybe doesn't need to be at the height that it is. We don't see that with baseball players. Like if pitchers were always, hitting batters, that would, batters were getting hurt. That would be a poor equivalent to it. A pitcher who goes out just to hit a batter kind of thing.
I think your equivalent is really the NFL and how we glorify big hits, because a lot of those big hits end up really hurting people.
Which hockey also has, right?
Yep.
Hockey also has. So.
Yep. So.
Well, we never forget athletes or people here on this show, Famous Jay, but thanks for saying condolences for Chris Simon and Robbie. Yeah, thanks for bringing that up, man. Anytime. It's not just about baseball, it's about life, and this is something that's not just about hockey, it's close to home for Robbie. So, follow Robbie on Twitter, Robbie Baseball 1. Send him a DM. Tell him what you're thinking if it's on your mind. And you can always be a part of our show and share your thoughts freely in the live chat, or you can DM us privately, or on the Palazzo Podcast, or jump in the Discord. There's so many ways to contact us if you want to talk more about these things beyond just baseball. However, we are here to talk about some baseball, so we're going to roll on into that. And before we get into the Cardinals, first off, remember, this show is about the Cardinals, the Rangers, and the Nationals. Ben, the Cardinals and the Rangers and the Nationals are all teams that have some interesting players on them. But one of the most interesting players right now, and I just want to get both of you guys' opinion on this real quick, is the Shohei Ohtani stuff. Everyone's freaking out saying that Shohei could be in deep doo-doo, and I'm just not buying that. I'm not buying that he's in deep doo-doo. I'm really not. And I've read the story. I've looked into the details with his interpreter and the gambling debts, $4.5 million, etc. Ben, what are you thinking right now? Are you bailing on Shohei Ohtani at all from a fantasy perspective, or are you just like, this is not that big a deal?
Well, I mean, the guy's leading Major League Baseball in stolen bases right now. So, I mean, you can't do that. But in all seriousness, if you were watching the press conference they had about this, and his interpreter is sitting right there, and they get to the point of, I guess I don't remember exactly who from the Dodgers was making the comment, but made the comment that, hey, Shohei had paid X amount of dollars of this guy's debt willingly to try to help him out. And this got interpreted to Shohei, and he had a look like, what? No. And he very intentionally said, no, that never happened. This sounds a lot like somebody ripped off Shohei Ohtani. And
what did you do? Hypnotize you? Is this voodoo here?
I just don't see. I cannot imagine that this is going to come back and bite Ohtani for that. But we're at the beginning of this. Who knows what may come out of it?
Robert?
Yeah, I mean, I've got so many shares of Ohtani, it's uncomfortable. But a lot of dynasty guys are enjoying rattling my cage. Roto Ronnie always loves a shout out on the show, and he was texting me this morning that Ohtani's going to be out. This is going to be fantasy baseball because Ohtani's been ruining fantasy baseball. Because he's just so out of the norm that we are used to. Our modern Babe Ruth, as people like to say he is. But I mean, he's not the fall guy, as the interpreter's not the fall guy for Ohtani gambling, and it's not that anything illegal was happening across all states. It was simply that's like a California regulation, you can't gamble, and this guy was. But I'm most curious about how much money was this guy making that he had said, if I can get this paid off, I'll stop gambling to pay the debt back. What were the Dodgers paying this guy as an interpreter? Because I need to learn some other languages and start talking to some major league teams. If
there it is. Famous Jay is not backing down, by the way.
I feel like it's gonna not go away, but it's just gonna be minimized because they want to get that information out there. And as other people had talked about, if Ohtani was involved, the reporters that wanted to break this, or reporter, whatever, would have 100% waited to get the definitive proof that Ohtani's name is on this, because you don't want to just pussyfoot around and try to beat the story or whatever. You want to be the one who's like, I found the fact, I got the signature, I got the, and none of that happened. So I don't think it is specific to the player. I think it's an associate, which we've seen with other, humans before, celebrities and whatnot, where their friends do bad things. NFLers have had friends who have done bad things. They are in their company. It looks bad on their part.
I live to see you eat that contract.
Well, I hope. I would not like to see that. I'd like to see Shohei Ohtani. Oh, Uncle Ted says Shohei Ohtani is going. Here we go. Well, you guys are really against Shohei in the live chat. Chad says he violated at least 2 laws. And Uncle Ted says Ohtani's going to jail! Exclamation point. All right, well, lock you in, buddy, and we'll see who's right. I say Ohtani never goes to jail. I'm locking myself in. And I bet Major League Baseball does not suspend him.
I'm not taking any bets on Ohtani.
Oh,
you're a doozy, aren't you? All right, let's get into it then. Let's dive into our first team. It's the St. Louis Cardinals. St. Louis Cardinals have Uncle Ted's favorite player ever. Uncle Ted was pissed because our graphic on the show cover sheet on our YouTube channel, which you should all subscribe to, Palazzo Podcast, 2Ls2Zs.
Utah, give me 2.
I was wrong. I put Ivan Herrera up there, and I blew it.
He's wrong.
I said it was Thomas Segis. Is it Thomas Segis or Segisi? I don't even know how to say it.
I've heard Sagasi, I've heard Sagis, I've heard
Fugazi. Yeah.
Exactly.
It's a wazi, it's a woozy.
Once
I know
he
what
gets
you
to
won't
the
be
Major
hearing.
League Baseball, we'll finally have a pronunciation guide on him. But right now, it's not
Right.
a widely available thing. Unless you're
Well-
an announcer in the minors, then you get that. But
I was going
true.
to say what you won't be hearing is me saying his name tonight, because he's not on the list. Sorry.
Well, for you,
boy!
Right. Yeah, I'm not
There it
big on
is.
the 270. The 270 OBP.
Saw JC. Matt
Saw
Thompson
JC.
checking
Okay.
in.
yeah,
The master, the prospect overload who knows everything about Cardinals prospects, Matt Thompson. Follow Matthew Thompson on Twitter. Saw JC. Thank you. That's wonderful. I never would have took that. That's
and,
beautiful.
Well,
and Matt
it's-
would know.
He's
would.
spelling it wrong. Then he should change how he spells his name. That way we
All right,
can
well,
pronounce it.
yeah. All right, let's kick off with Robbie. Robbie, why don't you give us your top 3 Cardinals
Sure.
prospects?
Only one's difficult to pronounce for me, but Victor Scott is my numero uno. He's still batting at the top of the lineup this late in spring training. I'm excited about the fact he's getting the at-bats. Cardinals are obviously wanting to see all they can see out of the guy who only got up to AA last year, 2022 fifth-round pick. I've got Cooper Hergeby? The left-handed pitcher. If you watch him pitch, it's fun and exciting. It also looks like he shouldn't get as many outs as he does. But, he didn't dominate as was expected. Last year, he was the first-round pick in 2022 for the Cardinals. He'll be playing this year, 23. I don't think he turns 24 in season. I won't look that up because it's not important at the moment. But I like him, and I like him to be steady Eddie. And then Tink Hence, super obvious baseball name. He was out of the 2020 draft, 68th overall, 21-year-old right-handed pitcher. I like this guy. I mean, I know he kind of appeared. He wasn't hyped a whole lot, but 2020 was a weird year for a lot of us in baseball with who we cared about in that draft. But Hence has been a steady riser, and at 21 years old, he's looking like he's going to be part of the rotation in the near future.
Ooh, okay. Well, that's exciting. You know what? I don't want to disagree with you, but I won't. So I won't. I'll just stay out of it.
Perfect.
I will say okay, that's fine. Robbie says Robbie with 2 busts in his top 3. I hate to see it.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing
Also,
better than saying
it's
somebody
jerpy.
as a jerpy.
Jerp?
Well,
Jerpe? Well, he's
okay.
not putting a hyphen in it.
Yeah, there
so
was no
jerp.
accent aigu on the end, so jerpy.
Yeah,
There you go.
these are hyphenated for Sajasi, but jerp. I mean, I don't want to be rude. I don't know everything, okay? But here it is one more time. Robbie's, there he is. Look at him pointing
even
the
picture,
guns
look
at
at
us.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've really, look at that. I took it up a notch here. We got moving graphics with pictures. So very exciting. Once again, those are Robbie's top 3. Victor Scott, Cooper Hergeby, Tink Hence. Ben, we will go to you now. Who are your top 3 Cardinals?
Well, I'm not going to say any of the names that Robbie just did. At
like
least not in my top three. And part of this is I'm looking real baseball, which is why Mason Wynn is my number one. Defensively, he's going to be a stud at short. That arm is arguably the best that I've seen in my lifetime at shortstop, which is, I mean, there's been some really good shortstop arms over time. But he is that kind of guy, and he'll be a better real life player than a fantasy player. But I think there's a guy that can get you double digit homers and 20, 25 plus steals. I love the guy as a defender, and I'm a guy I can watch great defensive baseball all day long, and he's absolutely one of those guys. My number 2 is Takora Roby, and we're going to talk a lot tonight about the 2020 Rangers draft, which everyone said was a really crappy draft at the moment. And they're turning out to be a pretty dang smart drafters in that draft. Roby was part of that draft, was traded to the Cardinals last year. Great build for a pitcher. You see 4 pitches of average or better. But the best part is the guy seems to be able to knock an eyeball off the dime the way he can command and control a pitch, which that's a huge thing. The guy, he's actually the guy who I watch him and I immediately see, and part of this is growing up in this area and seeing a whole lot of Twins, is Kyle Gibson. And I think that's that's maybe not a tremendously sexy fantasy guy, but that's a guy that also puts up 180 innings every year and gives, especially quality start leagues, is going to be a really nice pitcher for that type of league. But I think Roby's got that kind of put together stuff that he's going to be for sure a very solid 4 with some upside. And then my last one is going to be Thomas Saggese, and another.
Big over on the 10 here.
All right, so Saggese's one of the guys that I love with watching good baseball players, is that you can see the guys who they know the game. And they may not be elite talents. I don't know that I would give any skill that Saggese has a plus grade. And maybe even it might be tough to sell an above average grade on any of that. But holy cow,
what if you watch.
Wow.
I'm sorry, man. This is what I found when I Googled you.
That's kind of scary.
If you Google Benjamin Chase, that will be in the top 8 results. In the first one, that's actually you. So you have to talk to your PR firm about that one. So.
But I think the thing is, Saggese's just really a smart baseball player, and he's going to get the most out of all of his ability. I don't know if he's got one position. But he's a type of guy that we're going to look up in 2035, and he'll have a decade-long career. He's just that kind of a player. He might not be a sexy career, but he'll find a way to play a decade, which, that's pretty darn valuable as a prospect.
Okay. Well, do you guys agree with this, by the way, before we get to the next big 3? This is a comment from the man himself saying that Cardinals haven't been this thin in a long time. Uncle Ted, who seems to be the Cardinals expert. You guys agree or disagree with this?
I don't know that they're thin, because the Cardinals have this annoying habit of just having, like the Dodgers, just have a guy come up and all of a sudden he sticks. Yeah. I don't know who that is on the list. I'm just trying to look at a list of 70-something prospects. I don't know what 2 or 3 dudes are going to pop up from this. But they've got guys. I mean, we didn't just say Chase Davis. Maybe he's in one of our next 3. But he's somebody that was, somewhat fantasy popular around the draft time. And they've had a couple pitchers the last few years that have been fantasy popular. But again, once they start, playing, if they're not dominating, a lot of, fantasy minds turn off, and it doesn't mean they suck. It just means they're not looking like superstars. And I mean, we've already seen Nolan Gorman get drafted in the 20th in real baseball, only to be like a top 3 fantasy pick. And, anybody who spent that draft, spot on him, I kind of think wishes they pick somebody else now. So I don't know that they're thin. I think they're just not, their stat lines aren't, that's why Victor Scott's so exciting, because he's jumping, 5th round pick from 2 years ago is very exciting because they don't have those other guys. But again, Mason Wynn's come up and he didn't blow the doors off, and Gorman didn't blow the doors off. And that might be why we're pumping the brakes, because they've had hyped guys who haven't taken the next step for fantasy purposes. I mean, getting up and being a major league player is a hell of an accomplishment, but that might be why maybe we're thinking it's thin.
And that's, to me, that's where this is a system that I think has a lot of future major leaguers, but it would not surprise me if there's 2 all-stars in this entire system, like 2 future all-star type players, as in all pro, not voted in to the all-star game based on a really good half season, as in like a legit, this was one of the, best second baseman in the entire league type of guy or whatever. There isn't the star power in this system right now, but there is a lot of depth in guys that have translatable major league skills. It's just a matter of working up the system and finding a spot once they get up to the majors. That's what they got to do right now. So,
So
I mean,
all right.
Yeah, like Luke and Baker murdered AAA last year, but there's nowhere for him to play, and he's not getting consistent time. So he would be a stud if he had done the I got called up and I nailed it thing, but he didn't. So he's totally prospect forgotten, but he's still technically a rookie for fantasy purposes. And I mean, nobody cares about him, but like that's a guy who with a trade becomes legit, or with an injury, could become legit. But we've seen Juan Yepes also be really hyped up, out of nowhere hyped up, right? He was an AFL guy, I think, and we all got excited about him, and then he hasn't developed. And he's now with another team that we're going to talk about.
Yeah, he's with the Nats now, or last was with the Nats.
One of
now.
8 first basemen the Nats have.
That's putting
Juan
it mildly.
Yepes, me and Phil. I was looking back at our show, Ben. The first times you were on the show, me, you, and Phil, we were talking about Kyle Stowers when he debuted. Kyle Stowers been getting a lot of heat right now for the Orioles. This is a side tangent. And then also, Juan Yepes was one of Phil's big crushes, and I totally bought into it because his OBP production in minor leagues was outstanding, but he didn't have, there's positions. Defense matters in real baseball, and that's what happened here. So let's get to the next big 3 now for the Cardinals. We've heard the top 3. Robbie, give us your next big 3.
Sure. I think I can pronounce one of them. Juan Bin Cho, that's the guy. I like him. 2022, I think he was J15. He was one of the guys who decided to sign when he could instead of wait to try to get more money. And he posts a lot of videos of his swing. Like Manuel Beltre also used to do this. I don't follow Beltre as much anymore. He's too short. I can't see him. But Cho is tall enough, outfielder. Last year played his first full season, 32 stolen bases. The angle that he launches at isn't where everyone else wants it to be, but I think in 2-3 years as a professional with good coaching, he will begin to increase the angle of the launch, and we'll see a lot more power, and the OPS can rise up. And if he's coming along slowly, that's fine by me because he's 20 years old right now. So I also then have the Takeo Robbie in my next big, because I'm not sure how quickly they're going to go up. But my note, Ben, on him was, thank you, Texas. May I have another? And that Robbie was redonkulous after the trade once he was within the Cardinals. So they must have seen him, liked him, and wanted to adjust something. And then when they got him, they did. And we got to witness the results immediately. And the last guy I've got is a 2022 6th round pick, Max Rajesh.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. I'm about 86% sure he's Czechoslovakian, based on my pronunciation. He looked great in A-ball, midseason promotion. We've seen this and talked about it a lot. The K-9 went down, walks went up, but he's still interesting. Let's see what happens when he repeats. Let's give him 8 starts back at the same level. And if he does exactly what he did last year at the start of the season, I think we can, count on him to continue to improve as he goes. So Cho is my young guy of the group, and he's 20, which usually I try to find a teenager. Insert Wander Franco joke here. But
Oh,
you know,
boy.
no
There go
no
the views on
teens
this
tonight.
video.
Oh, come on. That's not what it's about.
It is the lowest viewed of all the prospect episodes last time. You went pretty heavy on it. I'm just saying.
Oh, well.
Jeez.
I'm just saying.
Stop.
So
In the end, you can't please the
Unrelated.
world. But there it is. Robbie's next big three for the Cardinals. Juan Ben Cho, Tekoa Roby, and Max Raychik. I'm saying Raychik.
Raychik,
That's what I'm
that
doing.
sounds better.
Okay. Well, nothing like, look at that guy giving you the guns. I mean, that guy's a badass. All right. So, Ben, any disagreements? What are your next big three for the Cardinals?
well, Robbie's actually mentioned all three of these guys, and I'll just add a little bit on each one. Victor Scott is in there. I need to figure out if he's Juan Pierre or if he's Marquise Grissom. Because that's really his two paths right now. Is he's got the exit velocities to say that he's got a future as a Marquise Grissom type, but you got to consistently find the gaps with that power, and every now and then you sneak one over the fence, and that's kind of what Marquise did. He had some 20 home run seasons, but usually it was more about double-digit home run, double-digit triples with Grissom, along with 50 steals and really good defense. Hence is just a guy. If he can show health this year, the raw stuff is some of the best in the minors, absolutely. And then last, I also have Juan Ben Cho, and this is a guy who when he gets in the batting cage, he can really put on a show with his power. And then when he gets into the game, his swing is different. And that's right now they're trying to work on him to utilize that, batting practice swing that he has, because it's very possibly the best power that they have in this system. So, God, my eyes are as red, a bloodshot in that picture as could be. Matches with the Cardinals background.
Conjunctivitis, maybe.
No, with all the surgeries I've had on my eyes, every so often I'll have a day where my eyes are just bloodshot. So,
now I feel
no
like
matter
an
what
asshole.
I do. Well,
Great.
no,
Okay,
it's
great.
hey, that was
Wow, dude.
that was my photo for my columns at the newspaper for a long time until I took a different one here not too long ago. So
We're gonna get all in your face and point out your faults.
that's a long list.
That is a long list. Okay, so there it is. Okay, real quickly, any other Cardinals you want to mention that you didn't get on the record, just because you want to look cool in dynasty baseball circles?
Yeah, Lucan Baker's still an option.
Yeah.
Yes, Lucan Baker does still have a
I like
potential
Lucan Baker
career.
too.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
One guy I want to mention here, and I was just looking to see where, he's down near like the 20 range for most places that are doing rankings, but Cesar Prieto that they acquired from the Orioles last year in the John Flaherty deal, or Jack Flaherty, sorry, yeah. But he is...
John Flaherty, former Tigers catcher in the 90s, by the way.
Yeah. Wrong Flaherty that I was talking about. But Prieto is another guy who's probably a backup infielder and going to play for a while as a backup infielder, but just not a lot of upside to that profile beyond a backup infielder, but just a guy that is going to have a good major league career and someone to know. He kind of epitomizes the fit of the rest of this system. The guys, as you go down this system, there's a lot of guys that I really do think are going to end up major leaguers. It's just you're going to not have a whole lot of guys that are starters and for sure not stars as major leaguers.
Yeah, I guess I can see it now on the screen. Sem Roberts, who was with the Blue Jays, I think. He was an international signing. He was somebody that was going to be brought along slowly and then was part of the Jordan Hicks trade last year. So I remember watching him and thinking, okay, I'll wait until I see something before I pick him up in Dynasty. And
Sem?
Sem.
It's not Sam. It's SEM. I'm just noticing that. That's all.
Yep.
Sem?
That's how it is pronounced also.
Great.
He was
dynamite drop in, Monty.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and I'm trying to remember. There was one more that I had. I'm gonna try to very quickly.
Oh, you want to bring the list back up?
Were you going to mention
my
Klopfenstein?
own. Thank you. That was the other one. The former Blue Jay,
yeah,
Klopfenstein, who also did the he's a smart guy to draft. I feel like he was in the same draft as another Blue Jay who was the first round pick. They were high school teammates, and he got paid the money.
Third round, 2018, Toronto.
Yeah, so that was definitely him. And their first round pick, and then Klopfenstein in the third, they were high school teammates. And the first round pick, off the roster now because the time had come. But Klopfenstein is a lefty. He'll get chances. It's just a matter of how much people really want to give. And last year he kind of came back a little bit. And I know a couple people that had given up on him, and he was on waivers in a few bigger dynasty leagues that have shorter minors or smaller minors, picked him back up. Because, why the hell not, right? With a new organization, you never know if he's going to get a shot. You fail as a starter, you always have a potential relief job.
Yep.
Please stop.
It was Jordan Groshans. That's what it was. Yeah.
He the current New York Yankee?
Yeah, he and Groshans were teammates. Now I'm reading
That's right. Yep, that's right. I remember.
Don't be that guy.
I knew there was a connection within the draft where they were kind of like a pair duo. Groshans was, I think, under slot, and Klopfenstein was over slot. So they both got paid collectively in their spots.
They also both.
And he stood there like the house by the side of the road and watched it go by. Struck him out.
Well, maybe Groshans more than Klopfenstein because he's a pitcher.
Hey,
Hey, there it is. All right, the Cardinals. That's our Cardinals breakdown. Top three, next big three. Where you guys want to go next? You want to go with the Natties or the Rangers?
Dealer choice, I think. So.
Well, I have nothing prepared, so as soon as you say which one, I'm going to start preparing the graphics.
Let's go to Texas because let's go to Texas. I like Washington more. Because they've got more horrible options. So,
all right. Well, whoever wants to go first, your top three Rangers prospects as of today.
Well, I'll gladly start on this system.
Perfect.
I've already mentioned that 2020 draft, and that's going to bring the top guy on my list here, and that's Evan Carter. And this is a razor thin margin between he and the second guy that we'll talk about. But Carter is the guy who's already shown in the major leagues that his eye is going to translate, and absolutely could handle center field, but they have Leody Taveras there, so why ask for that? That's he can handle a corner outfield spot and be really good. This reminds me a lot of a Carl Crawford type of profile, and I don't think you're hearing that said a lot about Evan Carter because he was batting third last year. I think folks are thinking that this is going to be a long-term, like a guy that'll hit for more power and whatever. No, I think that's what this profile is. He's got great speed and really is smart on the base paths when he gets there. So I like him as a potential, like I said, that guy that can get you 20, maybe a 20 and 40 type of line, which that's in today's game, that's absolutely feasible. Then my second guy, like I said, razor thin between these two, but the second guy is Wyatt Langford, and you're likely going to you will see him almost certainly on opening day, but the big thing is he's going to be much more. Huh? I haven't heard that it's a done deal, but at this point, they're going to have to play a lesser team in order to not have him in the starting lineup because he's shown that he is their best player right now for that position. So
Wow.
Langford's going to be more of your traditional strong profile or strong offensive profile with power and speed or power and batting average. Should be a really good hitter overall. Defense has got some questions. He can handle outfield spots, but he's nowhere near he's never going to be a Gold Glover. Let's put it that way. So having him break into the majors as a DH is probably not the worst thing in the world. And then my third guy is going to be Sebastian Walcott, who is he's got one of those frames that's just really stinking sexy on a player. And he's 6'4", 6'5", and got wide shoulders, wide hips. I think if he plays shortstop beyond this year, which should be his first year in A-ball, I would be very, very surprised. This is a future corner outfielder or third baseman with a really nice arm. could really work well. But the power is legit. You watch the swing, you watch how he handles stuff. There was some swing and miss last year, no doubt. I mean, but this is also a guy who was 17 handling college kids after they got drafted, and he was taking quite a few of them yard. It's just that he was also swinging and missing quite a bit too. He's one of those guys that got drafted, went to the DSL, and earned his way over to stateside. That's always something I love to see, is a guy who ends up earning his way over to the States. So,
okay,
anyway,
there's Ben's top three right there. Evan Carter, Wyatt Langford, Sebastian Wolcott, who's at the lowest level at high A right now for the Texas Rangers. And he said Wyatt Langford opening day. So we're going to lock you in, Ben. There you go. You're locked in. Congratulations. Robbie!
Hi.
Top three Rangers? Any interest? Any commentary?
Absolutely, I do. I would like to participate. Evan Carter, I also have as number one because he's really good at baseball, and he's going to continue to do that. And for fantasy purposes, he, as Ben just said, he's going to be a steady contributor. I think we've got a lot to learn about him this year. But if you have him in Dynasty or are interested in rostering him in any of your leagues, you'll have ebb and flow within the year. I think you're going to need to just be patient, and he's either don't pencil him in as your rock, but expect him in the future to be exactly that. Wyatt Langford, I also have just behind, and he looks like an exceptional player, and I would love to see what he can do. And if Texas is going to push, because they've always seemed to have legitimate outfield prospects, and some way, shape, or form, they don't end up dominating. But I mean, different reasons. You got speed guys. I still am waiting for Bubba Thompson from 2 years ago. It's going to happen. In the alternate universe where Honeywell is winning Cy Youngs and Kopech and he dominating, right there is Bubba Thompson, stolen base crown. They find a way, or not find a way. They have a lot of talent that finds a way to not become fantasy relevant for us long term. I think these guys are both going to buck that trend, full off. And then the final of my top three is Brock Porter, who is an
there we go.
pitcher.
I've been waiting for this because you did Evan Carter, Wyatt Langford, Evan Carter. So
yeah,
okay, Brock Porter.
I noticed it about 4 minutes ago, and I was like, "Hey, I wonder why I have Evan Carter twice." But yeah, it was all the stats I had to the right are Brock Porter. So 2022 4th round pick, A-ball, another big. He and Evan Carter were both guys who, in listening to the Welsh in this league and Prospect One talked about how you watch the signing bonus and then you try to figure out what's going on, like what's the real story behind these guys. And with Brock Porter, it was like, well, this is just like your Scherzer level high school guy, like just above, a class above the rest when he played. And Texas willing to pay to have him in their system. And last year at A-ball, he didn't pitch a lot, but 69 and 3rd innings isn't nothing. 247 average, 95 strikeouts, opponent batting average 160. That's kind of what I'm looking for. And he only gave up one dinger. And he's still looking for his first professional win. So Porter is on the road that I want to see those guys on, and good luck acquiring any of Carter, Langford, or Porter in your dynasty leagues. I think all three are worth it. Of all three, Porter's got to be the one that the dynasty owner would be the most willing to dangle, because nobody likes pitchers. Although in all of our leagues, they account for exactly half of the stats that we are trying to get. So, we can't ignore all of them. But anyway, those are the top three, and I love Texas's top three.
You did well. I mean, good luck to you. I think we should all wish each other good luck in life. And 2 L's, 2 Z's, Block the Podcast. We're live. MJ Govier, Benjamin Chase, Robbie Baseball 1.
Well, good luck to you.
Thank you very much, Norm. Rest in peace, Norm McDonald. All right, so Ben, you want to do your next top 3 Rangers?
Yeah, we could definitely do that. Porter's going to be in there. He's a guy, I love the pitch mix. The biggest concern is just how much he's going to be able to hit the strike zone. Because he was able to get A-ball guys to reach for pitches. I don't know, as he gets up farther into the minors, that he's going to have that same luck. Quite frankly, it reminds me a lot of how at which he didn't get a lot of it, but it reminds me a lot of how Jack Leiter looked in A ball.
Ooh.
And then he gets to double A, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, so they're not going to swing at my stuff that goes way out of the zone. Oh, well, crap. Now what do I do? That's a concern that has to be there to some degree. And quite frankly, the Rangers have way too many of those kind of guys. That's a little bit concerning. But my other guy, I have Dustin Harris, who is, I don't know that he came up as a third baseman. I don't think that's really where he'll ever be as a long-term major leaguer, but first base, outfield, DH type, but he's a surprisingly good athlete. This is a guy who's probably more of an average grade as a runner, but stole 40 bases last year. And, he's really smart on the bases. It would not surprise me if he gets to the majors and he's a 2020 type of guy. It's just going to be, for him, it's a matter of being able to have consistent contact ability. And that's just what he needs to get. The final guy I'm going to have is probably not one that's on a lot of radars, but it's a guy who's a personal cheese ball, and that's Aaron Zavala. And last year he got hurt, and he was never healthy all year long. But he was playing right alongside Evan Carter coming up into 2023 before the injury, and they were kind of on the same time frame. Zavala is more of a on-base guy that's going to be maybe your barely a double digit, barely in both home runs and steals. He might pull off the Curtis Granderson at some point. He's an excellent base runner to where I could see him pulling off a 5-double sort of thing where you get 10 doubles, 10 triples, 10 homers, 10, where that's. And I don't know that he's going to get to 20 like the Grandy man did, but he's got that kind of ability.
God.
There you
I
go.
had to do that because you said it. So.
But yeah,
yourself, Ben.
I like Zavala. I think there's something there. He's definitely an on base guy.
I love on base guys. Fun.
So.
Well, there it is. Ben's next big three for the Rangers: Dustin Harris, Brock Porter, Aaron Zavala. Dustin Harris, 24 years old. Clock's ticking, dude. Time's running out. Tick tock, tick tock. But that's exciting.
That's TikTok's banned. So,
is it official? Is it over?
No, not at all. No, just one house of the Congress. But still, it's just it's a funny joke. Sorry, but
not in the Great White North. It was a great joke. Isn't.
And not in the. Well, I'll tell you what.
Can't do it.
You also don't have this in the Great White North.
China.
So, all right. Let's get it.
China.
Robbie, who are your next top three Rangers prospects? And will Donald Trump agree?
China.
I have the Sebastian Walcott from the 2023 J15 class. I like the power speed combo. I think, Ben, that he's young enough that he could, with his arm and some coaching, stay at shortstop. I mean, if not, and it is outfield, sure, why not? But he's got the build of an outfielder, which is also conveniently the build of a shortstop. So we'll see what really happens and where Texas wants to move him. Paulo Santana is my next up 17-year-old outfielder, J15 class of 2024. This was your, default from the Louis DeVries. This could be the next guy you would take in that class, a 6'2", 17-year-old, who we want to see some stats from the DSL this year. And maybe complex league, but I'm expecting DSL because you don't have to rush them. And Texas is very good with their international scouting. And my next man up is an example of that in Yesen Morobel, the lefty outfielder who's now 20 years old, from the 2021 class. I had a lot of free time on my hands for J2 hunting this offseason because this was the same year of Churio, who I roster in several dynasty leagues. Morobel is another guy that I had in leagues 6'2". Ben used the term athlete to describe one of his guys, so I'm going to say he's also an athlete. What we haven't seen is speed or power, which is less exciting for dynasty, but Texas has a way with these guys, and I'm hoping that as we see him go up, we're going to start to see what he had a double number last year. Was it 20? No, I'm looking at failed prospect who was going to change the game, Dustin Harris. Morabel here. Remember? Do you guys remember that? Remember when he like flew up after the draft? Everybody got excited. Anyway,
I don't remember everything. I forgot. I don't even know what day it is. Where are we? Who are we?
It was an injury for Morabel last year because he was limited to 128 at bats. So we haven't seen.
How old is he?
20 years old.
He's 20?
20 years
okay,
young.
great.
20 years young.
I'm only curious. I'm not trying to fill in a graphic. I'm just curious. Is he does he happen to play in the Dominican Summer League? Is he in single A? Do you happen to know that?
He's an A baller. Yeah.
High A or just low A?
A no plus.
Just A no plus.
A no plus.
Great.
A no plus. Yeah.
I'm a curious guy. I have a lot of fascinations, and I appreciate you indulging my curiosity. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
You have failed. I may have failed. That's me. That's for me, not you. Sorry.
Yeah, but those are my guys. I did think about Ortiz, who was the first base outfield pop-up guy. But
you're being called out here by Guile Gamesh, Robbie.
Oh yeah, AJ Preller and 30 Helens agree that shortstop and outfield. I mean, check the stats. If you want to talk about a position with no build, that's second base or DH. But everything else, you want tall, you want thin. And unless it's third base or first base, and then you just want somebody who can mash baseballs, and you'll take them in any shape or size they come. So like Kumar Rocker.
Hi, buddy.
Kumar Rocker.
Sorry,
we did
Kumar
discuss.
Rocker's good. Yeah. You don't want to talk about him?
Nope. Lighter. We did discuss. But there's all these guys, right? The fantasy hype guys, which Texas has dabbled in several of the past 3-4 years.
Mm-hmm.
And it's nice to see that they were able to, have a couple guys up. Carter coming up last year was amazing. That's what we all want as fantasy, players, is we want to see young guys getting opportunity when we think they deserve it. So hopefully we can see Langford this year, as you said, Ben. And I'm not quite sure what's up with their rotation. So, it's not no love, Chad. It's not no love. It's no concern within our big three next three for him. I think Ortiz.
Yeah, for Ortiz.
Ortiz is in a weird situation, with Texas and first base. If Jared Walsh is going to be part of the team to start, assuming he doesn't hit 180, he might stick around longer than he should. And I don't know. We also see it with guys, corner infielders sometimes, where the organizations don't want to give them the position. They've got to come up in DH and get those Sunday games, Sunday day games after the Saturday evening, whatever. Becomes more difficult, I think, for those guys to break in. So
Robbie mentioned really good J2 guys, or J15 now. The guy that we haven't talked about yet that I have a love for is Anthony Gutierrez, and just tremendously good power speed combination. And more than that, he's actually shown himself to be a good defender in center field. Problem is, he's had issues with injury. He was pushed hard. I believe he might have played high A last year as a 19-year-old, or maybe even an 18-year-old. But they pushed him pretty hard last year. And so he's shown some cracks, but he's been really young when he's been doing it too. So I give him a little bit of leeway there, just because he's, like I said, the defense has given him a baseline enough to where he's going to do okay.
Okay, there you go. Hot action here on the Plotso Podcast.
Utah.
2 L's.
Give me 2.
2 Z's. We got a great crowd here. Make sure you guys, everybody watching here, if you're not watching on YouTube, please subscribe and like our YouTube video. Those of you watching on X, we appreciate it. I called it X for the first time. I did it. I've transitioned officially. That may have literally just happened in this moment. But I've also spoken so much over the last 10 hours. It's amazing my voice still works. I'm actually impressed right now. And I'm going to give myself a round of applause. That's for me. Yeah, great gift, Dad. All right, we got one team left, and it's those Bozo Nats, everybody's favorite Bozo Nationals. The Washington Nationals, top 3 prospects. Who would like to begin the final team of today's show?
You can go right ahead, Robbie. I'll let you.
I want it.
Yeah.
I want it all.
He wants it. Yeah, we want people who are motivated. We'll move up in this business. We're a pyramid scheme, so we need people to bring others in. And if you're motivated, it'll really make a big difference.
Absolutely. And as Govier said, like and subscribe on that quest to 1,000. We got to monetize for the money, people. Much like the Nats are trying to do, because they are Dylan Caruzan right now with last year's number 2 overall pick. He's a future star. His worst case is impact corner outfielder. Wow, that's exciting for fantasy. Brady House. Everybody got super excited and then immediately did the rookie move of backing off when the guy's stat line didn't match the hype of the offseason. But he hurt his back in 2022. Mm-hmm. And you know what he did last year, guys? He came back and he dominated. He brought it to the house, and he's a stud. And we don't want to see back injuries from anybody. We don't want to see them from a young guy. But now that he's healed up, if he can keep that core strong moving forward, which a professional athlete who had over a $5 million bonus in his draft year should be able to do and put people around him, we're going to see Washington with an excellent shortstop sooner than later. And then the final guy is the hyped and then traded for and then didn't look as good, James Wood, who Washington, I think, is trying desperately to make look really good. Not like for trading purposes, just like give him every opportunity to feel good about himself and have an excellent 2024 season. One of the things that I find comical is a waiver wire pickup from less than 2 years ago, Alex Call, who had opportunity last year, who I thought could have been like a silent kind of dynasty sleeper type, was horrible. And now this year, when I think the Nats are like, we'd like him to suck so we can move him out of the way, he's playing really well, but he's getting a lot of playing time, as has James Woods. So
he was also featured in my most wonderful time of the year, Crucial Lyric,
with the common
draft
name
Alex Call. Big zoom in on Alex Call. So he was a big part of that. It's important we know that. So.
And I mean, if we're not talking about making players relevant for the purposes of a song, then why are we doing this? So, but anyway, those are my here. Yeah, those are my 3 guys: Cruz, House, Woods, all pluses because I can easily say their names. Great.
Cruz, are we calling Cruz a AA guy right now? Not a
yes. Yeah, I would say both Cruz and House are AAs. And I mean, I don't know, what did Wood finish last year? AA as well. So sure.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking because, here we go. Mason says Nats, he loves it. He also says NATS, Nats, woo. He also loves Natty Light. In fact, Mason, one time, I swear, he sent me a picture of either a Natty Light strawberry or a Busch Light strawberry. Do you recall this, Mason? I couldn't believe it existed, but it was a real photo. He was by a fire drinking a Natty Light strawberry beer.
That's interesting.
That sounds terrible.
It is terrible. And I can't believe you just mentioned that. I can't believe I don't have Charles Barkley's terrible in the drop list. I'll add that immediately. Brady House to third base real quick. Robbie, anybody?
I don't know. Like,
is that important? Does it matter?
They don't have a shortstop, so let him go fail there. I mean, Luis Garcia was supposed to be the guy, and I
don't know. CJ Abrams is a pretty good defensive shortstop.
Okay. No, that's true. Okay, I'll take it back. I'll say that, you could move him if you're in a great position where you want him up. But if you're going to say full season AAA, no chance of promotion, and then you could see what happens. That's true. I did blank on Abrams, but that's because I couldn't get Carter Kieboom's image out of my head when I saw third base. God. And I thought, he's got it locked down, guy. Bubba Thompson, Carter Kieboom, Honeywell. Names from the past.
Oh, he's saying it's Busch Apple now. So I actually like apple. I swear it was a strawberry drink. I've seen that. Maybe somebody else shoved that in my face once. I'm sorry, Mason, if I got it wrong. You're saying it's apple, not strawberry. Chad says, I don't believe in Wood, so I bumped him out. And that is why Rutledge landed as my number 3. And Nick Senzel locked down third base for Washington. Nick Senzel never dies.
Let's not do this. Yeah.
My goodness.
Please, God.
No.
Yeah, Ben, what do you got? Top 3. Go ahead.
So, I guess one of the things I wanted to first mention, I have the same exact top 3. And so instead of really getting and digging in too much on this, I thought I'd kind of do some major league comps for these guys. And I'm going to start with House, just because House, we did mention, House could move to third base. That's all he played last year. I looked it up because I thought, I thought that he might have made that move already. And offensively, there's a lot of, they don't look the same, but House reminds me a lot of David Wright at the plate. Like, the swing's not the same. I think Wright was like 6 foot and House is like 6'5" or something like that. But so they don't look exactly the same. But as far as what they do when they're on, Wright was just amazing at pounding every angle of the field. And House, when he's on, he can hit the ball hard and he can hit it all over the field. So that's the guy who I think there's a good comparison there. James Wood, everyone wants to say Aaron Judge. That's not who I see at all. But I do see another current Yankee, and that's Giancarlo Stanton. And that can be a
version?
Really well,
like
and
the
that's
Mike
just it.
Stanton or the Giancarlo?
Well, and that's just it. Is Giancarlo is still hitting the ball harder than anybody else when he's actually healthy. But that's the problem, is he's never healthy anymore. And that's so there is some legit question there whether Wood is going to make enough contact to utilize those tools. And then Cruz, rather than, everyone talked about him as this elite guy in college and he could do everything. And this is your next Mike Trout. No, he's not that. Not to that level. But it wouldn't surprise me if he is a very similar guy to Bobby Abreu as far as his production. Now, they, once again, not looking at all the same, but a guy who could put up really good all-around numbers, probably a couple of 30-30 type of seasons early. I like Cruz's all-around skills. Cruz didn't come out and knock the world over the way that Langford did coming out of the draft. And so for a lot of people, they've really discounted Dylan Cruz. And I don't get it. You watch him swing the bat, you watch him play the game. This is still an excellent player. So.
Okay. Well, there it was. It was the same for both guys. So 3 human beings would mean I would jump in and verify that there's 3 human beings agree on the Nationals top 3. Sure, why not? What the hell? Who cares? What time is it? These guys are smart. Ben, follow Ben on Twitter. Big Gentle Ben. Follow Robbie Baseball 1. These guys know what they're talking about. All jokes aside. Plaza Podcast.
Utah.
2 L's, 2 Z's.
Give me 2.
Subscribe. Like. Blah, blah, blah. You know how it works. Chad wants to jump in real quick. He says he's found the next 2018 Whit Merrifield. So it's very exciting. And apparently it's in the... Is it in the national system, Chad? Who are you trying to say?
Ooh,
what do you got for us?
Anyway, yeah.
Let's go to Robbie now for the next big 3. Galgamesh said, is there a tiny violent Ben? No, I don't think. Maybe there is out there. It's possible. I know who he's doing. I know who he's doing here. I know the answer to this. Do you remember him nearly running over a bat boy? Well, it was. Are you saying it's Darren Baker? Because he was the one who almost got run over. He didn't run over. He was the tiny.
Oh, Dusty's son.
Yeah, he was the guy who was going to get
boy.
run over by JT
Right.
Snow. JT Snow picked him up and saved the day. Yeah, Darren Baker. Was he a first round pick a couple years ago? Actually,
No, he wasn't that
wasn't?
early, but he
Okay.
was. And he's got a lot to work on, but he's being around the game the way he has, he's a very smart baseball type of guy.
Right.
But he was a 10th round pick in 2021, and so he's even been in the minors now already for a few years. He's a solid player. Just
he's just
nothing real special.
Exactly. Just because he's Dusty Baker's son. No Nepo babies on these top 3s or next big 3s, everybody. All right, let's lock that in. But yeah, there's Darren Baker. Thanks, Chad, for bringing that up. Now you've distracted us properly, so we can get back to Robbie's next big 3 Nationals. Let's do it, Robbie.
Yeah, I thought he was going to say Jacob Young, the outfielder, but that's okay. For me, I wanted some more pitchers. I enjoy the pitchers and the prospects that are pitchers. And this man was hyped beyond what he could do simply because of his build. And when he got traded in that trade for the Sato guy that went to San Diego, I don't remember his name.
I know Sato.
I think it was Sato. It was Jan Sato. Anyway, Jarlin Susana. Am I going to pronounce that wrong? Obviously.
Yarlene.
Thank you.
Yes.
So the guy throws piss missiles. And
the piss missile, Ryan Pepio.
Yeah.
Shout out Britton Allen.
With the wave of prospects, he was part of the wave of prospects that had hype, and then it came and it went, and now he's primed for the steady rise up.
Yep.
So spring training highlight that I saw of him last week when I was in the great country of America was 103 miles per hour on a K of whoever the guy was, an ML beer that he struck out. And I remember that. I'm like, if that's the highlight, then that's all that people are seeing when they're watching ESPN. And then they're going to be like, type the name when they're just learning the prospects. Okay, I like this guy. So he's going to have dynasty value no matter what. He already did. But what I'm saying is this is a legitimate baseball player, despite the fact that he's got some of those highlight reel things. Next guy up, DJ Hers, who'll be playing at the local nightclub, but also for AAA.
DJ Hers!
Yeah. The lefty 22-year-old. He came over from the Cubs last year in the Candelario trade. Great signing for the Nationals last year. That's why I always give a guy one more shot. And Candelario now with Cincinnati. Anyway, this guy's a future SP2-3. That's the stuff. That's the lineup that he could have. That's the peak that we could see. And why not dream on a lefty? And then the other guy I got is a 2023 second round pick, Travis Sikora, who I assume his father is Peter, former NHLer, because why not? It's the only other Sikora I know. 19-year-old top high school arm. You know, there was like the Miami Meyer and White that they got, and then Sikora with the Nats. There are lots of good high school pitchers, and very few of them ever work out. But let's dream on a national here, because there are fewer systems that have more need for prospect pitchers than the Nationals. So those are the next
true story.
Is
Yeah.
that true story?
Yeah.
Did you just make that up, Robbie? Because if you made that up, we're going to get fired.
Yeah, well.
Made what up?
I don't even know. What day is it?
Yeah.
It's a good call. I remember Yarlene. Is it Yarlene?
Yeah.
Yeah, Yarlene Susano. A lot of 2 years ago, even, I feel like I heard his name when we were talking about him on this show at some point. So I'm sure we could dig up the files. If you guys want to go way back in time on the Palazzo podcast, whether it's the podcast platform or the YouTube, we've been doing this shit for several years, at least 3 years now. So go back and see if we got anything right. If you're looking to verify whether we blew it or maybe we knew what we were talking about, that's a good way to go digging, right, Ben?
Well, it might lead to me being fired, but that's a whole nother thing.
Oh, Ben, you got a lifetime contract, man. We're locked you in, yeah. You're like Trump at Trump Enterprises or whatever. He's got a lifetime contract. He'll always be there.
China.
Yeah. Well.
Anyways, there's Robbie's next big three.
I love
Darlene Suzanne,
how you
DJ
set
Hers.
yourself up, Govier, to press a button. You're just like, blah, 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 Trump and boom, China.
It's actually lazy because that button's been on there for 20 minutes now, and I hadn't changed it out, so I had to go back to it. But
it's just fun. And that's when you have the buttons, you can't not do that. You are
well,
obligated.
if you're willing to spend more than $19.95, Robbie, you could be a button master too. I could not find the deal. For you. I really tried. I'm sorry. So
it's okay. Someday.
All right, Ben, go ahead. Your next big three national prospects, please.
So Robbie hit the nail on the head with the issue with pitching. Yes. I'm just not a fan of comparatively the pitchers in the Washington system, although I think there's some excellent talent, but compared to the bats that are in the system still, they're the guys I'm going to want to highlight. The first one being a draft pick from this last year, Yoandy Morales. Really, really slick player. He's like 6'4" and 250 already. It wouldn't surprise me if he ends up at first base, but he looks a lot to me like a Josh Bell as far as the way he's just got a smooth swing and just really can tap into the power. And just like Bell, has a really good arm that is likely going to end up getting wasted at first base. But it is what it is. Then my next guy is, long time, he came over in that John Soto deal. And that would be Robert Hassel III. And for those who decided that they were going to write him off after the first, year that he was in the Padres system, they likely missed the very end of last year and certainly missed spring this year, because he's gotten back to what he does well, which is focusing on, I'm not going to worry about hitting the ball out of the yard. I'm going to hit a whole shit ton of singles and doubles, and I'm going to use the excellent speed I have. And lo and behold, it's worked. And that's the type of player he can be, is a very good, complementary type, nowhere near the same defense, but a guy like an Adam Eaton, that type of a ball player with good contact,
former national, World Series champion, or nope, just kidding. He got traded. No.
He was the guy that they traded away Giolito and Ronaldo Lopez in order to get.
That was a big trade that really helped the White Sox do nothing.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
Wow.
And
I do remember that trade.
That's putting it mildly.
Yeah. Then
it didn't really work out. You're right. That's fair.
Last but
he's just hitting all the buttons, Ben. Give him a minute.
Yeah, I was just gonna say.
Wait. Don't tempt me, because I can hit all 8 buttons.
I got one more to go here. Come on,
I got 64 total buttons I can hit in a row, Robbie. Don't push me.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not kidding.
I'm sorry.
So Victor Hurtado is my last one, and that was this year's their J15 guy this year. And I really like what 16? He could be. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And he's offensively, we talked about Santana before with the Rangers. This could be that top upside guy behind DeVries in the system, as far as I'm concerned. This is who I believe is the number 2 guy as far as upside. But once again, like we mentioned with, talking about Santana in the Ranger system, he's going to go to the minors and very likely to the Dominican, and you won't see him coming in for a bit. But coming stateside for this year, more than likely. And I have no clue where the heck they're going to play him defensively, because this is a guy who already, he was listed at like 6'1", 170. And if he's 170, I mean, I don't want to know the number that somebody's going to tell me that I weigh, because it's going to be a lot more than he's a solid 200 at least. And it wouldn't surprise me if he's more in the 220 range. And this is a 16-year-old that is filled out like that. He's legit probably 6'2", 6'3", and 220. So I mean, it's decent body on him, but he's a big guy already that young. And so I don't know where he's going to end up defensively.
You can beat him? Fatty.
Hey!
Why? So you can beat him? Fatty.
I'm fatty.
That's amazing.
I was calling it. I'm fatty. I mean, this
I
guy's
resemble
fat too.
that.
China.
Remark.
He's fat too. He won't admit it. I mean, at least we admit we're fat on this show. Trump refuses to admit it.
China.
He loves McDonald's. Just be honest. Come clean.
So, and I think Mason had a question here that is not Nationals related, but I did want to bring it up. Well, yeah, that one too.
Oh, not that one.
But
Go ahead.
This is
You know
like
you're
way
doing.
back. I can find it. Let me find it.
Gotta get
Right there.
back in time.
There we go. So, for those who don't know, my 3 girls all qualified in the youth wrestling state tournament in our state.
That's awesome.
And 2 of them.
Look how happy
lost.
he is. Look on the screen.
Yeah.
Look how happy you are.
That's the face he makes at the meets.
Yeah,
it
scares the little girls that are going against my girls. But no, we had two of my daughters made it to the match just before they would get into a placing match, and then they lost, but they wrestled their best wrestling that match, so I was really happy with that. And then the other daughter took home second in the state. So
Oh, wow.
It was a very good match.
Also, Govier is confirming I was right. My instinct was right. Adam Eaton was a World Series champ in 2019 on those Nats. But unlike the 2017 Astros, Adam Eaton ain't cheating.
But on Vaquero, bringing him up since we did, he got an ungodly signing bonus for what he truly was in 2021. So everyone's like, almost a $5 million signing bonus. He must be just really, really stinking good. Well, as we talked about with Ben Badler, that means he was really good at 14. And so that's when those signing bonuses get figured out. And sometimes you got to look at this guy and go, okay, so he's got paid that because of what he was at 14. Things may have changed. And he's hit well, but the power that he should have has just never come. Oh, good Lord.
I'm 14! I'm trying to cover the lyrics. Some people are hearing this like, what the hell is this? I'm 14! I don't know what I want, but I got a big signing bonus.
And Vaquero's a guy
that's a good parody song. I just realized that. Sorry, I got to write that down. Yeah, okay.
He's a tremendous runner and has a good arm, but he looks like and swings like he should get more power, and he just doesn't. And that right now is missing from his game. I think he stays in center right now because of his speed. The instincts aren't great, but I think he's going to end up being probably a future left fielder, more than likely, or right fielder. He's got the arm to play right, but he, especially if he moves to a corner outfield, he's going to need to hit for more power. So.
Okay. Robbie, anybody else you want to mention from the Nats system we didn't cover here?
The Nats are super frustrating because they should be a feeder where a lot of prospects can come up and, hit or bust. And then they did the thing we hate that teams do, which is just fill the holes with the Jesse Winkers of the world. And even
they signed Eddie Rosario too.
Yeah, and even Winker is potentially on the outside looking in a few days before we get to the regular season because, I'm just really quickly looking at it. It seems like Winker could be in the outfield, but they signed Gallo, they signed Senzel. The one guy that I'm interested in as a rookie, I really liked Trey Lincecum 2 years ago. So that's when he was drafted in the 3rd round. I thought very highly of him, but I wasn't the only one, and I didn't get him in a single league because I wanted him to fall to me. I didn't want to reach up to get him. And now, the one spot that puts up the players that we can often get too excited about because it's on the site, Roster Resource, has Lincecum as on the inside track to make the big league roster, which we're going to talk about on the next podcast, which are all the rookies that are up, not the ones that may or may not be. But he's somebody that could be interesting because he could just move around the infield. He's not necessarily... Wow, that was not at all creepy.
That's for you. You're a nice man.
He's not necessarily a second baseman, a third. He could just be the next Ben Zobrist. He's not, but he's somebody that I think is interesting within that system.
The next
that
top
should
3 Ben Zobrists?
The next Zobrist. Yeah.
Maybe we get Dylan Cease on the show.
Jerry Reinsdorf is a complete tool.
Well, I mean, he
said that. I mean, you just heard him say it. So.
Jerry Reinsdorf is a complete tool.
That may or may not be AI.
I mean, one of the guys sorry, Ben, go ahead.
I was just going to say, and this is a team where they made a tremendous Rule 5 pick that I thought was just perfect in Nasim Nunez. Yes. And now, then they go out and try and sign people to block him, and it's like, that was a perfect pick for this organization. And could have been one of those guys where if somebody goes, like Garcia goes down and you end up seeing Nunez in there for a bit, he's a guy who's got the speed that he could put up 15 bases pretty quick on your stolen base.
I was so in love with Luis Garcia. I had a big crush on Luis Garcia. He's still only 23, 4. He's not that old still. He's still there. He's not growing
he has streaks.
That much.
He has streaks every so often.
He does.
Every so often he'll go off for like a 2-week period where he'll hit 3 home runs. And
he'll do like a Ben Zobrist run. Yeah, oh my God, that might be the next Ben Zobrist. As Joe Lowry, always paying attention to our grammar here on the Palazzo Podcast. 2Ls2Zs.
Utah.
I think the plural of Zobrist is Zobri?
Zobri?
Is that what that is?
Zobri?
Zobri? Also, Gilgamesh wants to know, will post-thoracic outlet surgery Cole Henry Cole Henry put
God,
it
I
all
love
together?
Cole Henry. I
Does that
love
mean
Cole Henry.
You're saying that won't happen then? Is that what you're saying?
I would love it to, but I don't think it will, unfortunately, because I really liked him a lot, and I just don't see that happening.
Yeah, I'm looking at career inning. So 3 years since 21. He's only got 112 innings. That's a lot of games missed, which, of course, with injuries, that's what's happening with him. I don't know about Henry. One of the other guys with the Nats who was also a J2 pitching prospect that everybody got super excited about, and then he's fallen off, was Andre Lara, who 2 years ago, everybody was like, oh man, this guy's amazing, and he really got hyped up. And MLB.com doesn't even have him on the list because I just scrolled up and down that one.
You are correct, sir, but Darren Baker's on it. Just saying.
Darren Baker is on it, yeah.
Also,
it's recognizable names.
Chad's been on our ass about Jackson Rutledge. I mean, could we say anything else about him? I remember, Ben, I'll never forget it. For some reason, it's just stuck in my brain. You talked about how he was lanky and tall. He was too tall.
And that he's struggled with health in part because of it. But the other big thing is he had really struggled with his consistency in his delivery. And then he changed his arm slot. And that helped a lot for him. And Chad's also wanting us to talk about Jake Bennett, but I'll talk about Rutledge first, because Rutledge actually has a chance to pitch some in the major league team this year.
I'm a nice man.
And he's, a guy who's got a plus fastball, plus slider, and comes from a little bit of a lower arm angle now. I like it, but the issue is it's two fastballs and a slider. And I don't trust the curve, and I don't trust the changeup enough as a starter. I think he's a future long reliever type.
Just make us look cool.
There's nothing wrong with that, but I think that's what where he's at and what he will be. But if you want to get into Jake Bennett, he's another taller guy, 6'6". Loved him coming out of Oklahoma until the Nationals drafted him because they just kill pitcher value, and but he's a 6'6" huge lefty who's a fastball changeup guy, and it's kind of depressing when you get a guy that size. It's not a 98 fastball either. It's a low 90s. It's a really good sinker, but it's a 92. And when you get a guy like that with that kind of intimidating size, you're like, I'd really love to see, if that guy had 96 and he had everyone's throwing the sweeper. He had 96 with a sweeper and that changeup. I mean, he'd be an elite pitching prospect, but he's a changeup, and which as a lefty, there's a long career for him as a Jesse Chavez, Colin McHugh, someone like that who can go for an inning or two and get ground balls and throw changeups and 90-mile-an-hour sinkers and do just fine out of a major league bullpen. But you got to tick up the breaking pitch in order to be that as a starter.
Yes, sir. Good stuff. This is real good stuff. That's the Washington Nationals. Again, we shared it all, the top three, the next big three. We did the Rangers. We did the Cardinals. This whole episode has been a real positive experience for those of you that are interested in prospects, dynasty baseball. If you're just a baseball fan and you just want to hear about prospects, you can do that too. We do focus on fantasy, but you can still be here. You're not allowed to hijack the chat. Let's be clear on that. But you can be here, okay? You can be here, baseball fans. All right, I want to thank everybody for being here. I am exhausted. I'm done. I want to get home. I'm not going to get home before midnight. It's over, but it'll be close. It might be close. I still got to lock up here at work. I want to thank Robbie Baseball and Benjamin Chase for doing the great due diligence on today's show. And everybody in the live chat for taking it to the next level here on the Palazzo Podcast. 2Ls.
Utah.
Give me
Please
2.
follow Robbie Baseball 1 and follow Big Gentle Ben on Twitter. Somewhere out there is Tiny Violent Ben, I guess, as Guile said earlier. I'm at MJ Govier, and everybody else in the Palazzo realm, you can follow them, Britton and Mike Virginia and the crew. And we'll be on live Friday afternoon about 4:30 doing the part 6, the final draft prep before opening day, the real opening day, by the way. I mean, I love that they went to Korea, but come on, don't try to interrupt my schedule here. I still got a week. I got time. I'm not ready. I want to use these last 7 days.
It has absolutely screwed up some dynasty leagues as well because you need guys to go on the IL. And since games were starting, there are players on waivers who I'm desperately waiting for Scherzer to go on the IL in a league. And whether Stone Garrett's going or not, another Washington national player. Didn't even say Jake Alou, and now he's gotten screwed over. But these are guys who we need these 2 games. Somebody needs to talk to Major League Baseball about gambling, because when you play fantasy sports that are for money, you need everything to start at once, because this stupid start-stop thing is screwing some guys over who have players on the IL who need the roster spots open. Our lives. They're so tough, right, guys?
Yeah. So also, you know what this was the opening day of?
The KBO?
The
No,
movie Roadhouse.
Oh, well, that probably too.
I don't know.
Roadhouse, as Peter Griffin would say. Anyway, no, the NCAA tournament started its full thing today.
Right.
It's
Oakland
always
Grizzlies,
good.
baby.
Always good to see Kentucky lose. So that's all I got to say about that.
Local. Those that don't know, Oakland Grizzlies represent Oakland County here in Metro Detroit. So that they're a small university here, but they're winners. Number 14 seed, taking out Kentucky. Congratulations, Golden Grizzlies. Local Metro Detroit University makes good, especially with the University of Detroit Mercy going 1-29 this year, or whatever it was. It's nice to see a local team do something positive in college basketball. And Joe was right, yes. Real opening day, Govier, you have no soul. Ooh. And then you know what? You're not going to get that joke if you're listening in the audio format. That's all I'm going to say. YouTube is where you get the full extent of that joke. And if you want to look at Ben's sexy mug or Robbie's complicated background filled with all types of Easter eggs, you want to get to know the real Robbie Baseball. There's like 30 Easter eggs in the background, and you could uncover the mystery that is Robbie Baseball. It's in there. You could pause it and zoom in, enhance. Check all that out. So, Mason loves it. Oakland, yeah. Oh, look at that jersey. That's beautiful. So that's it. Thanks, everybody. Don't forget, you can check all the previous episodes of the next Big 3 series. This is the last one. We did it. Good job, guys. Give yourself a round of applause. We did all the teams. We got it in before opening day, the real opening day. And I'm really proud of everybody here. So for Michael Govier, Robbie Baseball, Benjamin Chase, everybody in live chat, bye-bye.